Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Outlive the Labels podcast. I am excited about this interview today. We have Rita Ali in the studio today, Dr. Rita Ali. She has a doctorate in, I believe it's business administration, if I'm not mistaken, and she's also a certified life coach, and she's also an author. She wrote her memoir, Jeopardy, Three Strikes but Not Out. And I can't wait for her to tell you all about that book and about the process and all the things that she endured and how she came out of that successfully, and also about her nonprofit organization and how she's given back and spreading hope and spreading love and joy in spite of the turmoils and the trials and the tests. She has come out on top. So thank you so much, Dr. Rita Ali, for being with us today. Go ahead and just tell us a little bit more about yourself, some of the things that we don't get in a quick bio like that. Tell us a little bit more about who you are, where you're from. How did you get to this point?
Hi, thanks so much, Mary, for having me. I'm just so honored to be on your show, on your podcast, and just so honored to know you and I'm very impressed with your story. So to have my opportunity to be on here and speak with you and with your audience is just a real pleasure. As Mary has already said, I'm Dr. Rita Ali. I do have a degree in business administration. Prior to that, I have been a commissioner. I've served 9 years under two governors in Pennsylvania. And I've also had my own radio show, produced a TV show. And I was one of the first African American women to ever cover major ringside fights back when Muhammad Ali was fighting. So I'm ancient, and have worked with nearly 50 champions, boxing, and worked with sports icons and so on. And in spite of that and a lucrative living that I earned from working and my business savvy, I've been a business owner, and I wrote a health and beauty column for the Philadelphia Tribune. And I just accomplished a lot of things. And then in my later years, I ran the Sister Clara Muhammad School, which was a very popular Islamic school, and it wasn't exclusive to Muslim children. It was exclusive. It was open to anybody that wanted to come, and that's something that I'm very proud of because we did a lot to help underserved communities get their children through school, and many of them are going on to college and have graduated from some of the best universities in the world. So that's just a little bit about me, and just little details that people might be interested in.
Thank you so much for that, and definitely interesting. You have lived 2 or 3 lifetimes. The amount of work that you've been able to accomplish and the things that you've done. I wish that we had more time to talk about all of that. We might have to have you on a part 2 so that we can talk about your journey and all the things that you've been able to do over the years. You have such an interesting story. But when you wrote your memoir, Triple Jeopardy, you spoke specifically about a part of your life that you went through that was challenging, to say the least. I think that's an understatement.
Yeah.
It was, a time in your life where you experienced a serious setback, but you overcame that. So tell us about the book. Tell us why you wrote the book, what that memoir is about, and the process and getting that story out, and talking about such a difficult time in your life.
Thank you, Mary. Well, the book, the title bespeaks the experience. And it was called Triple Jeopardy because I was actually sentenced 3 times on virtually the same charges by the federal government through a process of what is known as a preceding indictment. So I was sentenced 3 times for a crime that I didn't do in the first place. But because I wouldn't cooperate with the government and lie on other people because they were actually looking for bigger fish, but through the media and through the power of the U.S. federal government coming after you and versus Rita Ali, I didn't really have a fighting chance. So the book Triple Jeopardy, the Triple Jeopardy is because, like I said, I was sentenced 3 times on something I didn't do. And then, but not out is the most important part. It's because I added that because that's significant that only you can really count yourself out as long as you believe in God. And so I thought that that was an important part to put to it because it doesn't matter like how many times you get knocked down. It matters whether or not you believe enough in the Lord and that you're willing to get up and fight another day and know that the only one that can count you out is you. So that's where the title came from. And I was at the top of my game. Basically, could write my own ticket throughout Philadelphia. I'm one of the few black women that ever worked on major fights like I did, worked with the world-renowned promoters and so on. And then all of a sudden, I get accused of something that I did not do. I get accused of the community of defrauding the Philadelphia Community College of fun. I learned of it by a reporter coming to my door one day and saying, Rita Ali, so you don't get confused, is my Muslim attribute. Rita is my birth name, but my Muslim attribute is Rita Ali. So I'm running the Sister Clara Muhammad School, and I get a call from a woman who wanted to put adult education classes at the Sister Clara Muhammad School. And these classes consisted of English as a second language, Arabic as a second language, which was really appealing to the Muslim community because they like to read Arabic. They like to read the Quran in Arabic, even over reading it in the English version. So lots of people signed up for the classes. We were one of several sites, and for whatever reason, we were targeted by the FBI saying that our classes did not exist. And I was charged with a ghost employee scam that did not, meaning that the classes didn't exist and students didn't attend the classes. And the strange thing about that is that while we were under surveillance, the FBI actually sent agents to our school, and the agents reported back that it was significant classes going on there. There were several other sites, and the reason why it's, in my opinion, well, not just in my opinion, factually, it was selective prosecution because it's right after 9/11. We're a Muslim school. We're very prominent, a whole bunch of Muslims, and we're very active in politics and all that. And I just don't think that that was a mistake that, or an accident, or by chance that they just came after us. So in the trial, it actually came out that several other sites were visited. Some of them were not even open at the time. One of the sites were in a house, but none of these people were charged, only me and my children. None of the other teachers that taught at the school, but only me and my children. And that's because they were after a bigger fish. And I was offered, not by them personally, the U.S. attorneys didn't offer me personally, but through my husband's attorney, one of the attorneys that he got for me, I was told that, I could have witness protection program. Me and my children could go into this program, and they would give us, relocate us. But me believing in God as I do, I'm like, go where and do what, that God doesn't know that I'm lying on another person so that they can't prosecute me. So when I wouldn't cooperate, then they came after my children. So anyway, we get to trial, and the woman who brought the program is a high-ranking African American woman, but she's a Republican. And though I have done things with Republicans, I have voted for Republican candidates, I'm basically a Democrat. And so, but she was considered by many the Condoleezza Rice of Pennsylvania. Like, she knew George Bush and Barbara Bush and all of those people personally. And so she was the director of the program that was launched out of the Philadelphia Community College. And she brought the idea to me. I didn't know her. And when I decided that I would accept the idea, the only thing that I did was agree to give so many classes, to rent so many classroom spaces for the program, and I signed a rental agreement. So when it goes to trial, I get charged with RICO, I get charged with, and the more that I refuse to cooperate or say that I did something I didn't do, the worse it got. And I was told by the attorneys that, they said you think you're tough, so they're going to keep going and going, and they're going to find a reason to put you in prison. So the first trial ended with me not getting any prison time, but of course I was found guilty because we were in the paper every day, all day, and we were on the news all day. Not in the paper every day, all day, but we were in the paper pretty much every day, but on the news, the morning, the afternoon, the evening. And so much until they had like actual theme music, you knew that they're getting ready to talk about the Ali family. And they charged me, they charged my son, they charged my daughter because they had taught some classes as well, but only us, no one else. And then, so the judge really did not want to give us any jail time. He even said in open court he thought that we were decent people. He said that what the U.S. attorneys brought to the trial, the case that they brought was not what we were charged with. He said either a program exists or it doesn't. And the U.S. attorney's own witnesses said that the school was running classes, but it was not my responsibility or anybody else's responsibility to make sure that the students attended. Nonetheless, the jury found me guilty after being beat down so bad by the press every day. So this judge, he gives me a year and a year of house arrest and gives my children 6 months house arrest. He also, the woman who brought the charges, I mean, who brought the community college program to the school, the high-ranking Republican woman, she was the first defendant. I was the second defendant. Her son was also charged, and my two children. Her son was the last defendant. I go to prison 3 times. Well, I go to prison twice, but one was house arrest. Later, she gets her child, from the beginning, she gets her case severed from mine, my children, and her son. So she goes to trial by herself. From what I understand, she was given prison time as well. And also, to my understanding, is very interesting that she has never served not one day of prison time. So if that's not selective, and having been in prison, I know that you do not get to avoid serving prison time unless you are dead on their dead. And she is not dead. She's still around in all of the organizations and whatnot. And I'm not even suggesting that she should have gone to prison. What I'm saying is that neither should I. I should not have gone, and it shouldn't be based on your politics who's in charge. And at the time, the U.S. attorney there happened to be, or proclaimed to be, a friend of my husband's. Because my husband had done a lot of work in the community and was a very powerful person in terms of helping people get elected and so on. And that's who they were really after, him. And one of Philadelphia is the second black mayor of Philadelphia. So they came after us. And so much more was in the book. And that's another reason, Mary, why I actually had to write the book, because I'm such a people person that when people meet me, they want to know me. And I just feel as though it's such a negative stigma to have on you that I want people to know up front that I have that forever sentence of being deemed as a unworthy person. Because some people might not want to associate with me once they find that out. And I think they have a right to know. I got so tired, Mary, of telling the story. So tired of telling the stories. I said, well, let me put it in a book. Let me give you just a little preview that I'm charged as a convicted felon, even though I didn't do it. But you can read about much more about it in Triple Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine, because every time you have to go through the story of explaining what happened, it's like you get re-victimized all over again. It's like you go through the trauma
Yeah.
of it all over again. And even when when you're talking to people who may seem like they're on your side, or they believe your what you have to say, you, in the back of your mind, there's always this wonder of whether they truly believe what the system said about you versus what really happened, because you're going up against a system that's long standing, is solidified, it's strong. The way that they went after you and targeted you, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of retaliation in there. All of
Yeah.
the things that you went through. It was more than just a conviction. It was a brutal
Persecution.
hunt down. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
The
I think
persecution.
I'm just honored and to not only interview you today and to get the audience to learn more about you, but I'm so appreciative that you shared the story, that you wrote the book, because people need to hear, the realities of what our criminal justice system looks like in America. People need to know the realities of what goes on behind the scenes and what goes on in these prosecutions. And there's countless people who are still in prison, behind those prison walls, who have
Yeah.
stories where they're innocent, and they have been fighting for their innocence and fighting for their freedom. So I'm just so grateful that you're here to tell your story, and that people can hear and read about this journey for you. So you took your pain, though. You took that pain and you turned it into a greater purpose. And I
Yes.
love that about you. I stand for that 100%. I love sharing my story. I'm the person that loves transparency. I share my story of being a survivor of human trafficking and being a
Yes.
formerly incarcerated
Yes.
person. Very same reasons. And
Mhm.
you took what you went through and you turned it into something great. You took this thing and you ran with it. And you not only have the book, but you also started a nonprofit organization. A woman after my own heart, y'all. She started a nonprofit organization called We Too Matter. So,
Yes.
Dr. Ali, tell us about We Too Matter and your mindset behind starting this organization and why it was so important to you.
Well, Mary, I have to go back a little bit to when I was in prison, um, because I was very supported by family. I had lots of money on my book, and I could help other women in there. And so you go through the holidays, and you have visitors and everything. And I remember one day, one of the women, she had got transferred from another prison. She was a young woman, I guess in her mid-20s. She had been in prison for about 5 or 6 years. And I said to her, they have these volunteers that actually come to prison to visit women who, I guess they do it with men too, but I was in a woman's prison, but they come to visit these women who have nobody to visit them. And I just thought it was the strangest thing that she was getting so perked up and happy about sitting in the visiting room with a stranger. And she was like such like one of these cool young women that kind of like ran the young group of nice young ladies, very nice to meet. Everybody in the prison called me mom, pretty much. And I said to her, "So you're not even going to do that, are you? You're not going to go and meet with just a stranger just to go to the visiting room, Mary? I'll never forget it." She looked at me. She said, "I haven't had a visit in 6 years. I just want to see what the visiting room looks like and have somebody put money in a vending machine to get me an ice cream sandwich or to get me some candy." So that stuck with me because really, even from my experience and from being in there, I wasn't even suffering that. I had money on my book. I had people coming to see me. I had relatives and friends and people writing me and stuff. And never even thinking that somebody else was even on a much lower level. Like the proverb goes that I once cried because I had no shoes, till I met a man who had no feet. So that was an awakening moment for me that this is much worse for some of the women than it is for me. And I went in there as a high profile person anyway, so you automatically get respect, more respect from the prison authorities as well as because they know that you do have some outreach where you can get them maybe looked at if they do something really bad, whatever, to you, where other people don't have that. And so the other thing that got me was the holidays are rough for the women in there. But the worst one, it was not Christmas, Mary, it was not Easter, it was Mother's Day. So the women in prison, we're told we're not supposed to help each other, whatever, but we're so happy for each other that we do everything. I think we're allowed to have like one pair of hoop gold earrings, whether they're fake or not, but we're allowed to have them. And some of them are, I think if you have a wedding band, you're allowed to have that. And what else? That's about it that you can have that's not considered contraband. So if you don't have it and you're getting this visit, and it's been 16 years since you've seen your children that were taken from you, and this is the year, this Mother's Day, your family or the social service or someone, they promise that the kids are coming. And so we do your hair, with the makeup, whatever we have, we share it, and you're just so gussied up, you look so good, and you're standing out there. We even pressed the uniforms for them and everything. So, you got to wear the uniform, but you're going to wear it looking good and, as much pride as you can have wearing a uniform, right? Khaki. They're standing out, Mary, in front of them. You just imagine this. They're standing out in front of that visiting room, even though it starts at 8 o'clock, and they know their family's not coming till 12 or 11. But they're just waiting and prancing back and forth, and we're all just so happy for them. The clock starts to tick down, Mary. 2 o'clock, 3, 4. and it's 4:45, and they're starting to shut the visiting hours down. That woman that walked up to Carter so happy, so proud, with all of our good wishes and love for her, she comes back, head bowed, in tears, and it's a walk of pain, not just the shame of all of the humiliation of being treated less than a human being. It's the pain. The heart is broken. And our hearts are broken along with her because people don't respect the rights of us being human beings. And then when you come out of prison, you still are labeled. It's another sentence that society imposes on you because of the state and because of the government. I mean, just think of it in terms of the U.S. versus Mary, okay? The U.S. versus Mary Holmes. That's a big title within itself. The United States of America versus little me. Just the
Right.
psychological impact and what it says to the jurors is this person offended my country. That's a
Right.
hard hurdle to get over. And so that's why many people take plea bargains. If I had taken a plea bargain, I would have had 6 months probation. But I couldn't say I did something that I couldn't do, that I didn't do. Later, Mary, I go and I get this big package because, Obama was the president, so I'm going to get a pardon. I know it. I mean, I'm so politically hooked up. I still have senators and governors and people that, love me and are right. I feel like this package is about this thick.
Mhm.
Get down to about the last maybe 5, 6 pages, and it says on there, by signing, now I'm paraphrasing it, I don't remember the exact words. By signing this, you are admitting and accepting your guilt and asking for a pardon. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I'm not going to ever say I did something that I didn't do. So, anyways, We Too Matter was actually birthed from knowing what the women in the prison go through, from those two incidents that stood out for me the most. I knew then that I had to do something. And I had to use my relationship with celebrities, with my son-in-law, with all different types of people to do what I could do to form an organization that brings more attention to the fact that many women are now the rate of women going to prison now is what's much higher than the rate of men that are being incarcerated now. We're being incarcerated at a higher rate now than men. And then how when you tear those women away, Mary, as you know, you had children. You know what that does to a family. The mother, you take the mother out of the equation, and then the children, God knows what they go through, and then you don't know what people tell them or whatever. So we are the backbone. We're the foundation of civilization. The mother, we're the first teachers. We're the nurturers. So removing us now puts more of our children in the path on the way to incarceration, reform school, or whatever, because you remove that strongest link to success for a child and for their development. You move that strongest force out of their life. And so there's so many women that are incarcerated that don't need to be. And so what we want to do at We Too Matter is bring more attention, particularly to our men. Like Lewis Reed, he's great. He helps women, and because he has respect and regard for women. And a lot of other men do too. But more attention, and with the help of people like Lewis, we can do so much more to bring in the attention because most people, when they think of the whole image of incarceration or prison reform, the mental and psychological collage that they see are men. They don't really see women in that. Even in the back of their mind, they know a sister or a mother or a cousin or someone, a woman that's been incarcerated, but that's not what immediately comes to mind. So I want us to do what we can with people like yourself and like Lewis to just bring that so that we have a level playing field of attention brought to the matter that we need our men to now support us like we supported them. Like you go to a male's visiting room, sometimes, and I've done that with my husband when he would go see different people in the men in the community. Many times your visit is terminated because it's so packed with baby mamas, mothers, sisters. putting money on the books, coming and building them. Not the same. At least it wasn't where I was. And with the hundreds of women that we talked to, they didn't get the support from baby daddies like baby mama gave men when they're in prison. And I just want our men to wake up and understand that we need them. We
Right.
need them. We can't do this by ourselves, and we need more men like Lewis to be, and then Van Jones. We need more men like that to be involved and bring women as much attention as we need, especially since we're the rising population of now. More of us are going to prison than ever, and for crimes that are not necessary. So that's what We Two Matter is about.
Yes, and I really appreciate that work because, as you mentioned, we don't get as much attention as we need to have shed light, to have more light shed on this issue of women incarcerated. I
Yes,
appreciate the work that's been done, but like you said, we don't get the level of support when you look out into those waiting rooms. I remember what that was like. I remember during my incarceration having one visit. And I appreciate that one visit, that one time, but I remember when they would do the calls, or when they would let people know that there were visits and you can go down. And I remember feeling that sense of loneliness and
hmm,
feeling wanted and feeling rejected, because my name was rarely called. It was only called that one time. And I
yep,
remember when letters would come, and how when other women would get letters, and how I would feel when I didn't receive anything in the mail. And I remember seeing the other women who didn't even expect anything. They got beyond expecting
come
anything.
on now, yeah,
So there's a level of hopelessness and a loneliness that exists for women who are incarcerated. And a lot of times what we look forward to while we're on the inside is things like the worship services that we're able to attend. And
yes.
I remember there were times when churches didn't even show up for those worship services, or ministers or clergy didn't show up, and the disappointment that we would feel waiting by the gate, and the van would show up and tell us that we would have to go back inside. And so,
Mm.
so many different issues, so many different ways that we can talk about the need that exists for women incarcerated, and support that's needed, and also prevention, and preventing them from ever having to be incarcerated. There's some offenses that there's no way that people should have taken the plea deals. There's no way that they should even be incarcerated for some of these
That's
things.
right. That's
I
right.
appreciate the work. I appreciate your organization. So tell us how people can find out more about you, about the organization, where they can follow you on social media, because people need to stay connected to you, Dr. Ali. They
Yes,
need.
thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm on Instagram and I'm also on Facebook. I believe I'm on some other things, but people like you and some of the other staff here that I have are going to help me get a lot more social media savvy. But they can also, I know on Instagram, one is Triple Jeopardy. And I think that's the Facebook. It's under Triple Jeopardy. The other one's under Dr. Rita Ali. But if you just put my name in, Dr. Rita Ali, or even Dr. Rita Ali Triple Jeopardy, it's going to come up. Or Twitter, I think all of them will come up, so they'll be able to find me that way. And then they can also visit our website on We Two Matter. It's we2matter.org, and it actually has stories from some of the women, from some of the things that they've suffered. And I just want to say, Mary, before we wrap up, is that I'm not reinventing the wheel, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm here to push out this message that I just came up with this brilliant idea that women need to be supported. There are so many women organizations out there that provide housing, that help to provide jobs and clothing for women, and counseling. I'm just a spoke in the wheel. But what I do have is that I have made connections with people like you and Lewis and with Van Jones and my son-in-law, Mike Tyson, and other celebrities that actually, when they heard the stories about the women, I've seen big, tough men break down in tears because it took them back to their mother, okay? Took them back to their experiences with prison. And one of them said to me, said, like, God, I got so much help from my baby mama while I was in prison. I've never helped any women in prison. He said, I feel like a dog. He said, I'm just so glad you brought this to my attention. And he hires formerly incarcerated. He said, but you never even realized that women go through everything that men, I mean, in the back of your mind, you know it intellectually. If it's said, it connects. But what he said was he just never even thought about it like that. That women go through every trial, every tribulation that men go through in prison, but they have greater burdens. Men are not shackled when they're pregnant or paraded in front of in the hospital, paraded with shackles on when you're pregnant, and people grabbing their kids and pulling them away from you, like you're set there like you're in the zoo, so that people can look. This is what you don't want to end up like. Just the humiliation of like, where's she going to go to? Shackled when you're actually delivering a baby. There's an incident that really stands out in my mind, Mary. If we have time, you know, when you go into prison, you're told, first of all, the intake worker, he's looking down, or she, they don't even look at you. Shows you right there, you as a person, you don't matter at all. So
Yeah.
they're taking all the intake and all the information. And then you're told, and you're frightened, you're told, don't take anything from anybody. Don't borrow anything. There, you don't have, you cannot give anybody anything, and they can't give you anything. Anything you need, you come to us. If you don't already have it in your little dirty sack that they give you for your nasty sheets that look like they're yellow and they're supposed to be white, but creepy, all that creepy stuff, put that aside. So there's a young girl. She comes in, and she looks like she's about 13 or 14, but she was older, but she just looked like a kid. And she keeps going back and forth to the CO's office. And this particular night, it was a male CO. And she must have just got there because I don't know about state prison, but I know in federal prison, when you first arrive, you're in a different type of uniform until you actually get your assigned uniform. So you're like a pullover rather than a button-down shirt and all that, and you have the elastic band pants.
Mhm.
So you know that's a new arrival. Plus, you haven't seen them there, so you know it. So she keeps going back, and then she turns towards us, and and every time she goes to the mail, it's a male CO on this night. He keeps locking the door, talking about, no, I'll be right back. Okay, no, I don't have time for that. She goes, I don't know what she's going there for. We don't know her. She doesn't say anything. Mary. Then when she turns around, she's like, I need help. I need help. With what? The whole back of her filled with menstrual blood. She's got her legs clenched. All she was asking for was senator napkin
Wow.
that he couldn't give her. So of course the women took care. But can you imagine what that did to that child? That, I
Right.
mean, come on. I saw two people. Well, one of them died just because they didn't give her her medication. Didn't have to. A vibrant woman, early, like late 60s, maybe mid to late 60s. And I said to her one day, as is traditional, she was up at the commissary, and I said, "You want me to take back carry your stuff back because I'm not getting much." And she said, "No, one of the kids is going to take it back." I said, "Are you okay?" I call her Miss June in the book, but that's not her real name. I
Mhm.
said, "Are you okay?" And she says, I'm going to die in here. And I said,
Wow.
get out of here. Don't say that because she was feisty. And I said, don't say that. You're not going to die in here. And she says, I'm going to die in here. She said, I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I know my body. I keep
Wow.
begging them to give me the correct heart medication. I said, Miss April, you're going to be fine. She said, 2 days later, she was dead.
Wow.
2 days later. And it didn't have to happen. And just other things like women having a stroke because they don't give them their hypertension medication. It's a cruel
Wow.
place, and it just needs reform all the way. So
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing her story.
yeah,
And just like the organization, the name of your organization, We Too Matter, like you're shedding light on not just the issues, but you're bringing those real life stories to the forefront and putting a human face to
yes,
the issue. And so I just want to be one of the first to say thank you. I know many people probably have already shown their appreciation for what you do. I just want to publicly just thank you for the work that you're doing. Any way that I can support and help, you already know you got me. You
yes,
already
I know
know
that. You're right.
any way that I can
You
help
know,
and support.
and I
I'm
have to thank you
here.
too, though. I have to thank you too because our work really it coincides with each other because the same things that women have gone through in any type of prison, we all go through. And you, like me, and like these other women, we are all part of that sorority that no woman wants to be a part of. We are considered convicted felons for life. And we have to work to remove that stigma from people because, all right, after you've done your time, you served your time, you paid whatever fine, so they're going to put some fine on everybody, no matter whether you deserve one or not. We need to be made whole again. And
Right.
we need voices like yours that will tell the story and have a platform that people will listen. And then those people can spread it out. So if we can get everybody that listens to this and beyond and reads your book, as well as, contribute to our organizations, if we can get them to get just one person and that person to get one person, it just spreads. We just need to bring the attention to it, and numbers will make change.
Yes, absolutely. And you said something so key. I know we're running out of time, but this conversation is so robust and so needed. And I think that the listeners will appreciate this time that we took. When you talk about how, we have to live with the stigma and the labels that society and the system has put on us, even today, I was looking through an old email that I was able to gain access to, and I was trying to find a document in that email, and I came across an email that was sent to me by a prominent insurance company that had offered me a job years ago. And I remember being so excited about this job. I remember saying, this is the job that's going to give you my financial breakthrough. I'm going to make more money than I've ever made before. And
Hmm.
offering me the position. And the email was saying, congratulations, we're excited to welcome you on board. And it got to the point in the email where it said, we're going to send you the paperwork for you to sign for your background check and your drug screening. And of course, after the background check came back, they rescinded that offer. And I remember how I felt when they
Mm.
rescinded that offer, because I nailed the interview. I had a resume that was top notch at the time. I was impressed with my work experience, and this was the first job that I was going to have that was going to get me over that hump of working those jobs that just seemed to just pay minimum wage.
Right, right.
When I read the email today, it brought me back to that time, and it was like my heart sank all over again, as if it was
Yes,
the same day that I got that rescission.
right,
I'm a lawyer now. Like, I work as a lawyer, and I
right,
still feel the pain of that rejection today.
right.
It
Exactly.
really came back all over again. And there's so many of us women who, like you said, are part of the sorority that we didn't ask to be. We didn't want it. We didn't sign up for this. We didn't want to be a part of it, but we're here. This is our story. But we want to tell people, like, this is something that has been put on us, that we have to carry the weight for the rest of our lives. But people like Dr. Ali, people like myself, and so many others who have taken on this fight, we carry that weight proudly. We carry it, and we say, look, let me
Yes,
show you. Let me show you this weight. Let me show you this experience. Let me show you the burden of what I had to go through and what I've had to endure, so that hopefully, prayerfully, no one else will have to experience what we've gone through. That maybe, some way, somehow, they won't be victimized the way that we were victimized. Like Dr. Rita Ali's story, there's so many who are innocent. Like my
yes.
story, there are so many of us who have not been. I don't talk a lot about the details of my story. I just, usually I tell the bulk of the story in general statements a lot of times. But
Hmm.
truth, when I do share my incarceration, one of the key factors that many people don't know is that I didn't even commit a crime, and I was convicted. But I was convinced by my lawyer at the time to take a plea bargain that I
Yep.
should have taken. And that was one of the reasons I said, I'm going to go to law school, and I'm going to make sure that others who are not financially stable, or who are not able to afford representation, they get quality representation if they're given a public defender. I'm going to
Right.
make sure that people get represented the right way. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. But
Yeah, but it's something we need to go deeper into because it's very important. And if we don't do something about it, and society can change it, because even now, I think it's California, they've taken off that question on an application, but it doesn't matter because you can go on the internet and just look it up, and then you can see all the so-called crimes that we've been. So society has to change.
right,
Where a person otherwise qualifies, give them the position. If they've served their time, okay, and they otherwise qualify for the job, then that shouldn't even be a question. But
right,
society is still punishing us again,
yes,
okay? So it's like the judge says 3 years, but society says life.
Right.
So
Exactly.
they impose the life sentence on it, and you don't need the federal government or the states to knock it out. All you need are the employers to stop asking that question. If you see that a person otherwise qualifies, your company's not in jeopardy because I went to prison. Okay, like what am I going to do at Google? What am I going to do? So the point is that if that person meets the education, I'm not saying you shouldn't have qualifications because just say if it's computer science or whatever, I don't qualify to program computers. Okay, but if they have that certificate, they have those qualifications. Why are you asking about the past? When do you or society forgive the debt? When is enough enough? For society, it's never. And I say the same thing to organizations, sororities, fraternities, where a person otherwise qualifies, they may have something to offer that is so valuable to your
Right.
organization. And we should be the first ones to welcome our sisters.
That's right.
Okay, so we need your voices. We need the voices of all these prestigious African American colleges and organizations, and sororities and fraternities to say, yes, he did his time. That has nothing to do with who he is. A person is not what they've done, they're who they are.
That's
Okay, and we all make mistakes. And we want God to forgive us, but we can't forgive somebody for something they did and they didn't even do it to us. So
hmm
come on.
Yes.
So we have to work on that and get people change your mind and you change the world. It's just that simple. We don't need to wait for the federal government to free us from the stigma of people not hiring us. You can't get an apartment. We need corporations and organizations to drop that from their criteria. That
That's right.
person serve their time. So give us the opportunity to prove. And most of the time, what they're going to find is you're going to find that person's going to work harder for you than anybody else.
Exactly. That's right. They'll find that
Hmm.
people who are deserving of a second chance. We need that chance. We're going to hold on to that
That's
opportunity,
right.
but
That's
we're going
right.
to hold on to it so tightly. You'll find us to be the most loyal, most
Yeah.
giving, on time, not just on time, but early because
Right.
somebody gave
You're gonna have
us.
to put them out of the office at night. Like, oh, listen, we got to close up. Okay, you need to go home. They're gonna
That's
work hard for you. I know because I've been there working for $6 an hour when I first came home. I'm a professional with a master's degree. $6 an hour I worked for what you would pay a child in a summer program. That's the only thing that I could get at that time, and I was grateful for it. But I had so much more to offer that organization, and I would stay there. No, I was still in the halfway house. And I would stay there until it closed at 5. I'd be there till 7, 8 every night, still doing things and loved it because I was doing something that was for a nonprofit as well. And it was just so worth the time to put in. And I knew that I don't have to prove myself to myself because I know me well.
yeah.
But I know that what God created, and I know that God knows I don't care what anybody else knows. If God knows, if I've offended God, that's the first thing I got to do is ask God's forgiveness. But now people need to forgive people and let us move on and contribute to society rather than holding us down. Okay, put us in position and you'll see how much we can do. So that's
That's right. See, there you have it. Listen, if you give us a chance, don't hold us down. Propel and push us forward. That's what we need. We need to push forward. And you guys see why I needed to have Dr. Rita Ali on this show today. A phenomenal woman. Thank you so much, Dr. Rita Ali, for being our guest today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for opening up, sharing the stories of others, bringing hope. And thank you for starting your nonprofit organization, We Too Matter. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can see the website right at the bottom of the screen. I made sure that we put that there just in
yes,
case maybe you thought it was We Too, TOO,
Yes.
is the number two, we too, the number two, matter.org. So please visit that website. Check out the amazing work that she is doing. In any way that you can contribute, help, support financially, or your time, or whatever it is that you can do. When you look at the website, find out ways that you can jump into this fight and help us, because this is a much needed conversation that we had today, but the work continues. So thank you so much once again, Dr. Ali. We appreciate you. And you are welcome to come back anytime. I know we have to do a part 2 because there is so much more to you. We got to talk about the journey over the years and take us
Yes.
back in time and all the amazing work that you've done. And you have a story. Oh my goodness. I see a part 2, another memoir in the works that just talks about your life and the things that you've been able to accomplish. So thank you once again. For those of you that are listening and tuning in, I just want to say thank you to the listeners, to the audience. I want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast channels all over the, whether it's iHeartRadio, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening in. Thank you for joining us, and subscribe and leave a review. This helps us to bring you more great content and keep us at the top of that list so others can see the amazing interviews and hear the amazing interviews that we've been doing. These people have been so amazing that I've been able to have on this show, and I want to continue to bring you, the listener, the content that you need and that you want. So thank you once again. Until next time, I appreciate you, and we will see you back again here at Outlive the Labels, the podcast, and the YouTube channel. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me. Peace and blessings.
Welcome. You're welcome.